Come and check this out.
Coming up, there's a surprise in store at reception.
Oh, wow.
What have we got?
Holy moly.
A snake gets caught down a drain pipe.
Worst case scenario, will pop up through the toilet.
And I set the record straight on some Aussie wildlife myths.
There's so many myths which are untrue and unfair.
It's business as usual at the Australian Reptile Park, but something unexpected is never far away.
Hello, Tim speaking.
Hey Tim, it's Tara from next door. How are you?
I've received a call from Tara, one of the park's neighbours. Her dad, Clint, has found a snake tail hanging out of a drain pipe. This could be anything, and it's not safe for him to be hanging around their home either.
Okay, I'll be there in a minute.
Thanks.
Bye.
Dad's got the snake and hopefully he's holding on and Tim will hurry up and come and save us.
What do you got?
Oh,
I think it could be a python.
Oh, spot on. This is where you found him.
Yeah. It's just his tail was sticking out.
This is going to be a pretty big snake. You can only see the end of him. I can see it's a diamond python. That part's easy. What I can't see is how I'm going to get it out of there. I don't want him to get down the pipe. Not sure where it goes. If it rains, he could drown. Worst case scenario, he'll pop up through the toilet. Who knows?
get him out, thanks.
Okay. I'm going to start, and just one bit at a time. You can't pull too hard because all the little vertebrae in the back, you don't want to hear them crack.
Yep.
So it's just a little bit at a time. Oh. I know right away this is not going to be easy. I can't tell whether his head is hooked around something or if he's just wedging his body in that pipe. Either way, he's not moving.
Wow. I didn't realise they were so strong.
Yep, very strong. Oh. I don't know how I'm going to get him out.
Come on.
Oh. Every time I pull and then I relax, he takes back what I've got.
Diamond pythons have an average length of 2 metres, but can grow up to 3. And although they generally pose no risk to humans, to small mammals, reptiles and birds, they're all potential prey.
Yeah, we wanted this diamond python moved, you know, hopefully into the bush, so then it can't hurt our chickens, or we've also got dogs too, that we don't want the dogs to, like, get the snake either. So hopefully we'll get him out and he'll be right.
I'm trying, guys.
Look at it wrapped up around Tim's arm.
I'm struggling. I'm in full sun. My arms are starting to shake. I can see sweat dripping off my nose.
Here, Tim, may as well get comfy.
Hey, thank you. Ta. Oh, that's better. My arms are shaky and sore.
Oh, I'm no good.
It's been over 10 minutes, and I'm still no closer to getting this snake out.
Really, I might get you to run over to the park.
Yep.
And ask for Billy, please.
Bill.
Yep, and just
Okay.
ask him to come over.
No worries, we'll be back in a
Thank
sec.
you. I'm going to call in reinforcements. The last thing I want is for this snake to slip, and he's gone. I can't get him then, or it's going to be a lot harder. I'm calling Billy. Hey, mate. Have a go at him. Grab on. My arms are jelly. Right. Thanks, mate.
Jelly?
They're jelly.
He has a strength in it.
Strong?
Yeah, man.
I got an idea, mate. I think we pour a bit of water down there. It's not going to hurt him,
Yep.
but it might make it slippery. Might give us the advantage.
Sounds good.
You ready for a bit of water?
Yep.
Okay, coming now. So I hit him with the hose and he starts to move. And maybe now we're up to half the snakes out of the pipe. But again, he's locked in.
You want to jump in again?
Yes, no worries.
All right.
There's a worry if we pull too hard, we could break his back, separate his vertebra. We don't want to do that.
Give you a bit of a spray.
Good. This is a diamond python, which they get fairly large, up to 3 metres. I'm guessing that this fella's going to be 2 metres over. Okay, he's moving. Look how big he is, kids. He just keeps coming. He's loosened up and he's coming out. Last bit. Oh, he's got a bit of skin off on his neck there. And all of a sudden the head pops out, and there he is. Have a look at him. Do you think he was that big?
Yeah.
You did? What a battle, but we've got him. Well, that was the hardest python I have ever caught. Diamond pythons must surely be one of the most beautiful pythons in the world. They're only found around the Sydney region and east coast of Australia. Now this male, he'd be out in search of a female or a feed, but the sun's come up. He needs to find somewhere to hide. He doesn't want to be out and vulnerable. He's found the pipe, picked a bad spot. Can you think of a name for him?
What about Peter the Python?
Peter the Python. Okay, Peter the Python it is.
Okay, let him go!
Let's go and let him go. Come with me. Clint takes us to a beautiful spot just off to the side of his property. Beautiful forest, a nice creek, perfect diamond python habitat, and we let him go. Everyone have a quick pat, say see you, Pete. There we go. Pete the python is happy now. He's had a stressful day, but he's out now and he's back in his natural habitat. Hey, what are you going to do if you find another snake?
Go Tim, go Tim.
Call me. Don't you catch him. Let's go. Australia has an abundance of unique and often deadly wildlife. And over the years, there have been many myths about animals that are just that, myths. Today, I'm going to look at some of those animals and dispel those myths. First up is a species that has the reputation as one of the most feared predators on Earth.
If you believed all you read in the newspapers, you'd be forgiven for thinking that you were putting yourself in mortal danger every time you dipped your toe in the ocean. Sharks are probably the most maligned creatures on the planet. Those dark, deep, expressionless eyes, fearsome set of gnashes, and the way they stealthily wander the oceans all add up to a major fear factor, especially when stories appear of attacks on unsuspecting surfers. But is that fear founded? To me, it's sensationalism. Fear sells, and there's nothing like fear of the unknown, and sharks are one of the least known species on Earth. One thing I do know is worldwide there are between 30 and 50 attacks each year, maybe 5 resulting in death. Did you know 30 people die around the world from ant bites in the same period? I don't hear anything about ant eradication. However, the number I am worried about is the 73 million sharks killed annually by humans. There's a figure that should worry you. The sharks are the ocean's apex predator. They're essential to the ecosystem. One example is, take them out and seal numbers will rise. That'll have a detrimental effect on fish numbers, and then there'll be calls for seals to be culled. Let's get one thing straight. The most feared of all sharks, the great white, is a rank amateur when it comes to being a threat to humans. It's been responsible for less than 100 fatalities since the late 16th century. You heard me correct, 100 deaths in 400 odd years. It won't stop me going out for a surf. Time to get landside now. I'm going to put you straight about something I'm particularly fond of.
We all know I love my snakes, but there are another species that have had a lot of myths made up about them. Now, something that is true is Australia has 10 out of 10 of the world's most venomous snakes. But the stories including snakes chasing after you, trying to hunt people down and kill them, they're not true. Now, Australian snakes are dangerous, but they'll always try and remain camouflaged or just slither away and get out of there, avoid the confrontation. Now, to give you an example of that, there's a snake called a death adder. It's the world's 6th most venomous snake. And I bet you haven't noticed the one sitting calmly right in front of me.
There's some other silly myths out there that are more like fairy tales than anything else. First things first, snakes do not hold grudges. Killing one won't unleash the wrath of its partner to hunt you down. Just remember, they'd rather not encounter you. So leave them space to go on their way and all should be fine. Next up, snakes hypnotise their prey. As far as I see it, this myth has 2 likely sources, neither of which involves the use of a watch swinging back and forth on a chain. First is the unblinking stare. I suppose it has some sort of hypnotic quality, but it's not enough to send anything into a trance. The fact prey have a tendency to freeze up is either through fear or built-in self-preservation. Some animals seem to think that remaining motionless will make them invisible to predators. It must work in some cases, or they wouldn't have developed that trait. Last but not least is the age-old belief that snakes are slimy. This couldn't be further from the truth. That sheen is simply down to the smooth and glossy nature of the scale. If you ever get a chance to hold a snake under expert supervision, try it and you'll see for yourself. They're amazing creatures to handle.
Hey Liz, come and check this out.
What do you have?
Have a look for yourself.
Oh, wow, you don't see that every day.
Not at all.
We should probably get Tim.
I'll get Tim.
Have a look, yeah. Penny to Tim.
Go ahead.
Pen.
Hey, Tim, we have something here for you that you'd probably like to see.
Sounds interesting. What is it?
It's a bit of an odd one. You'll probably have to check it out for yourself. You're gonna freak.
Righto, I'll be down in a minute.
This is something I've never seen before. Tim's definitely going to be excited to see this one.
What have we got?
Hey, I think we've got a blue tongue lizard.
Holy moly. You do have a blue tongue, but it's got two heads. Look at that. Fair to say, in a long time in zoos, we've never seen that, hey?
Never.
This lizard is a real anomaly. I mean, it must be a chance of 1 in a million in the wild that something like this is born, and for it to have been found alive, well, spectacular.
Do you think he's gonna grow?
If he's got 2 independent brains and he can swallow and his body's all right, then he might live.
Can he see?
Yep. I mean, in there looks like a deformed eye, if you like, or he should have an eye there and doesn't, but on the outsides, the eyes are perfect. It's great that someone found him and recognised that he was different and has brought him to us. Things like this in the wild, well, if they're disadvantaged even a little bit, the wild is harsh, and I don't think he would have survived out there.
What are you going to do?
Down to the vet, hey? We need an answer to know that he's not in pain or anything like that, and then we'll look after him. Looking at him, physically, he's okay. But I'm not a vet, and I guess I really need to know what's going on the inside. I'll take him down now. I'll let you know how I go when I get back.
Thanks, Tim.
Pete the vet, he's in for a surprise. I've taken him weird and wonderful things over the years, but never anything with 2 heads. Good afternoon, guys.
Hello, Tim.
I know I don't have an appointment, but do you have time for a special little friend of mine? Have you ever seen anything like that? I'm hoping that Dr. Peter Nosworthy can give me some insight into the health of this very unusual blue-tongue lizard.
Where did it come from?
He was found locally. He was brought in by a gent that found him, and he crawls, he moves around okay.
I've never seen a lizard like this before, and I'm worried about how it's going to survive. I'm just going to have a look in his mouth for a moment.
One blue tongue.
Everything looks all right in there. All right, mate, let's have a look on the other side. Yeah, OK. Superficially, from what I can see, they both look normal.
Is it possible that both heads work and swallow and...
I'm sure it is, yeah. I mean, I don't see why it couldn't be, but we might try and find out. I wouldn't mind taking an X-ray just to see what his spine is like up here.
And the picture will tell us more.
Tell us more without a doubt.
Right.
Hopefully without a doubt.
Let's have a look.
I'd like to take an X-ray of its spine to see that it has got, something that runs from the back of one of its heads down through until the tail. 3 X-rays. I would then like to pass a tube down both mouths to see which one goes down to the stomach or whether they both do, out of interest, and see which one we should be feeding, or can we feed both? OK.
What do you got? 1 or 2 brains?
I think we have only got 1 brain, Tim.
1 brain, 2 heads?
1 brain, yeah. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
And the rest of the body looks healthy?
Normal.
Normal?
Wow. Normal from 2 heads backwards, he's normal.
The X-rays are done, and Pete's happy. But what he wants to see now is what actually happens when he puts a tube down the throat. Do both mouths feed through to the stomach?
Mouth open.
Mouth open.
Pete puts the tube down one side and it feeds back to the belly. He then goes to the other head and it does the same. Now that means both mouths are intact and working.
Okay.
So that's good.
He can swallow both sides. Both sides will run down into the abdomen. Whilst ever he eats and develops, we push on.
Yeah, we give him a go.
Yeah.
It's a great result. But before I leave, there's one more thing that needs to be addressed.
What are you going to call him?
How about Janus?
Janus.
Yeah, it was the Roman god of new beginnings. He had two faces.
Janus.
Janus, yeah.
Well, that's lovely. One lizard, one brain with two heads.
New
Janus.
start, Janus.
That's lovely,
What do you
mate.
think?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Pete gives him the all clear. That's great. I'm going to take him home, try and get him feeding, get him strong, and hopefully he can live a normal life.
Back to the reptile park, and Janus has been settling into his new home.
We're back from the vets now, and Janus passed with flying colours. So I'm going to try and just get a little bit of food in because that could be the energy he needs just to kick him on. I don't know if he's ever eaten since he was born. So I'm actually going to try and just force a little bit into him, and maybe that'll give him a taste for it, and tomorrow or in the days to come, it'll stimulate him to start feeding by himself. Blue tongues are easy to feed. They'll eat fruit, veggies, but today I'm going to use cat food. Now it's soft, it's mushy, easily digestible, it's a perfect start. I'm just going to gently pry open his mouth, just put a bit in, just get a little bit of food in there. That's it, good boy. He's eating it. He's licking it. That's fantastic, he knows what to do. Good boy. Let's try head number 2. Same again. That's a good fella. When I was down at the vet's, Pete said he's got a good response in the mouth. He sure does. He's swallowing that food from both heads. The last thing I'm going to do is actually try a little cricket. That's it, mouth's open. Cricket's in. Look at that. He's eating. Beautiful.
He's making a good start. And I reckon that with a little bit of care, this little battler can live a long and happy life.
Janus has only arrived here today, but the future's looking bright. In the wild, he wouldn't have survived. At least here, we can give him a chance. That'll be a good little home for you, mate. You got everything you need in there.
There are no bigger myths made up than those about wildlife, and Aussie wildlife in particular. I've already dispelled one or two about sharks and snakes. Now it's time to head into the trees, and you can't get any more Aussie than these little critters.
Koalas are probably Australia's most recognisable animal. Now, they were first called koala bears because European settlers thought they looked like bears. But they're not bears at all, they're marsupials.
The common myth is that koalas are always drugged out or drunk. Well, I'm sorry to say, that's as far-fetched as the myth about a man in the moon. The fact is the gum leaves they live on provide so little nutrition, they have to sleep through most of the day to conserve energy. These bundles of fur get the award for being able to sleep just about anywhere. Now, you might think they're pretty docile, maybe the cutest and cuddliest critter around, but let me tell you, they can be ferocious when they want. Koalas are territorial, so when one steps into a rival's domain, all hell can break loose. He will do all he can to get the intruder out of there. Now to probably this list's most controversial character.
Dingoes are true Aussie battlers. And there's so many myths about them, most of which are untrue and unfair. For example, people think that dingoes are somehow harmful to Australian environments or its wildlife, when in fact, they're its greatest protector.
Studies have found where the dingo is removed from the environment, kangaroo, wallaby, fox and cat numbers are soaring. in turn destroying native vegetation and wildlife numbers. It's the complete opposite where dingoes are allowed to thrive. It's also long been said that dingoes threaten our sheep and cattle industry. To me, that's nonsense. Yes, a percentage of livestock is lost to dingoes each year, but the job they do in keeping down herbivore numbers like kangaroos that feed on pasture far outweighs the cost of a few sheep or calves. The biggest joke is that dingoes are vicious killers that attack humans unprovoked. In our entire recorded history, you can count the number of fatal attacks of humans on one hand. Compare that to about 15,000 domestic dog attacks every year. The fact is dingoes, like wolves in other parts of the world, have a built-in fear of humans and will do all they can to avoid confrontation with us. The trouble comes when dingoes lose their fear of humans as a result of us feeding them.
So there you have it. Just a few of the myths surrounding Aussie wildlife blown sky high. They're one of our greatest assets, and I'll defend them to the end.